Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Rick 9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the television show Gilligan's Island. It's one of my favorite shows from the 1960s and some really cool behind the scenes piece of trivia that you probably never heard of. I think it's going to blow your mind because it's something that you never notice. Let's get right into it. This episode that I'm going to be talking about is from season 2. In fact, it's episode 2. It's called Beauty Is as Beauty Does. Now, it aired September 23rd, 1965, pretty much the beginning of the second season. Now, in this one, Ginger, Marianne, and Mrs. Howell decide to hold the beauty contest to see who will be named Miss Castaway. Now, Gilligan, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you see it, has to cast a deciding vote. So everyone tries to influence his vote to vote for the women they think is most worthy. Now, it's a great episode because the professor pairs up with Marianne, Skipper pairs up, of course, with Ginger, and Mr. Howell with Mrs. Howell. And it's great because, essentially, Gilligan's vote is the one who decides Miss Castaway. And they go through all these little shenanigans and preparations. I mean, it's a really good episode, and it really reminds you what Gilligan's Island is, that it's a live-action cartoon. But even though it was filmed as live action, there were things going on behind the scenes on the quote-unquote island, which was really an inside studio soundstage that you may not have known. And in one of these scenes, that becomes really apparent. The scene is one where you see Gilligan walking through the jungle, through the plants and the greenery and everything, and you see a bamboo pole stick out right in front of his feet, essentially to trip Gilligan. Now, Gilligan does trip, and we notice that it is the professor. But before Gilligan actually gets up, if you take a closer look at the sand, you're going to see something that's a bit surprising. Now, it's interesting to note that you've never really seen anyone on Gilligan's Island smoke in regards to the castaways. It wasn't a regular occurrence for Gilligan, the professor, Skipper, even the girls to really smoke on screen, which was pretty strange because other shows like I Love Lucy, coming decades before it, did allow it, but Gilligan's Island, it was not really a thing. However, you will notice that on the ground in the sand buried there was a cigarette butt. Now, I want to know how many of you actually noticed this, but this is a cigarette butt who was used by someone who in between scenes was smoking while they were exactly on the set in this spot. They threw the cigarette butt on the ground. The scene started, and accidentally, where Gilligan fell, his fingers went right on top of the cigarette butt. What's crazy is that he notices it and actually covers it with his hand later on, hoping that it wouldn't be seen. But unfortunately, it was caught by the camera. Now, who were smokers? Well, of course, people in the cast and crew, but who specifically are the castaways? Well, the character of Gilligan, Professor, and the Skipper never smoked. But the individuals, Alan Hill Jr., as well as Russell Johnson and Bob Denver, all smoke. So it is pretty much high probability that it was one of these three guys. And the fact that they rehearsed this over and over and over again, and that they would have rehearsed the fall of Gilligan over and over and over again, and that he landed in that spot, he probably threw their cigarette in that spot. It is my guess, but this is only a guess, that was Bob Denver's cigarette. He meant his own cigarette that he threw away, which is actually pretty cool. I want to know your thoughts down below. Have you seen this? Who do you think this cigarette butt is from? Now, this is a pretty cool blooper, and it's crazy to think that no one spotted it in editing, or even the director saw it, and even Bob Denver said something about it, but they kept the scene and they kept rolling, and in fact, it made it into the final cut. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for your support as always. I love covering classic TV shows and movies. How can you support what I do here? By subscribing, by liking the video, by leaving a comment. They're all free ways that help out the channel so much. So I do appreciate it. And don't forget, everyone, no matter what, always be hopeful. Thank you to all my supporters, especially my Diamond tier patrons: Christopher K, John O, David D, Sally N, Jerry D, Vito L, Citizen Kane, Jennifer P, and Kevin K. If you want to be on this list, make sure to check out the link in the description. It's all of you patron members who make my channel possible. Thanks!